Hello and welcome to the next episode of Shift Happens Catalyst Conversations. This is for you if you are on the edge of making a change, if you are on the edge of deciding, and if you want to have this amazing, cool life where you get to be the highest version of yourself, where you get to build yourself every single day. Because this podcast is about change, it's about transformation, it's about doing things. Yes, we are talking a lot, but we are also doing things. And I'm very happy to have Vincent joining us from Berlin. I'm in Barcelona, so basically in the same time zone, on the same, I don't know, wavelength even. He has done quite a lot of interesting stuff and approached change in a very different way. We will talk all about it, but first, Vincent, tell me what was the recent change that you made in your own life? What was it about?
Most recent change is that I've stopped drinking alcohol on December 29th. I'm going for this dry January thing. Maybe I will extend it. I'll see how it goes. But this is the latest switch where I thought, okay, it just makes sense from experience as well. And it comes as an element of a longer chain of things, which are probably in the public domain anyway, a lot of changes. But really, the aim, the objective, of course, why did I go for this change is it's really this drive. If you want to be effective at something that you do and you want to let go of this, what you said, like self-limiting beliefs and anxiety, how do you do that? How do you get grounded? And this is just one of these elements which are underestimated. That has a lot to do with nutrition and all these other good things. There are a lot of experts on that field. I will not comment. I can share what I do, but I have other, I think, areas of expertise that I'm happy to share. But this was one change here, and it's going great, and I'm feeling great as well.
It's interesting that you chose 29th. You're not like, okay, from the 1st of January, New Year, no drinking. 29th.
Yeah,
Does this date have like specific meaning for you?
I was already definitely drinking less alcohol over the whole last year and the year before that. So there was already a trend. And then I had one evening here in Berlin where I went out and we had some drinks, but I had planned to, stop drinking anyway, or at least for January, or, let's see how if I extend it, but we'll see. Yeah, it was then also that I was invited to a friend for 2 days over New Year's. And this friend also drinks no alcohol whatsoever, like, completely not. And we were a big group where I was invited for 2 nights out there. Some people actually had some alcohol when they were, I mean, it's fine, it's no judgment at all. People could do whatever they want. So, but it kind of fit as well because I thought, like, hey, this is great. I've been on this journey anyway. And then the 28th was that day. And on the 30th, I went to that other thing, the alcohol. So everything fit together, so to speak. So it kind of made it maybe a little bit easier. But then again, I've been on that path for a while. And sometimes the change builds up and then you make that leap, so to speak, that shift.
Yeah, it feels like it was like this for you because I can completely resonate with this. I have never been a big drinker. I was always basically drinking twice a year because my body is just nope. And as an athlete, I'm like, it doesn't align. And
Yeah.
4 years ago, I stopped completely.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So
And how did that feel? I
doesn't
mean,
make
if you haven't had that much to drink before that either, but
Yeah, it feels actually more liberating because it's not like, okay, should I? This is not part of my life. I'm just not doing it.
yeah,
And it's so easy to just, I don't have any emotions when I walk past the alcohol, like in the store. I don't see
great.
this.
Yeah.
I hope that one day I don't see the ultra processed sweets either.
Mm,
Now I still
mm,
see them, but I'm
yeah.
like hoping to also start ruling this out. It's kind of like training your mind not to notice
Yeah, yeah.
certain things that are actually not good for you.
Yeah, same here, same here. Yeah, I haven't cut it out completely. I'm not sure if I ever will. Maybe there will be like a little bit here and there, but the alcohol thing is interesting. I had totally different times in my life when I was in consulting. There, it was at the time, and maybe it's also that the times are changing anyway. I think a lot of more people are recognizing this now, and alcohol consumption, I think, generally has gone down. When I was in this job where I was with this big company for 15 years, and it's not just, I would say, stressful and very intense, but then also when you travel a lot and you go to the airport and it's very easy that you get lounge access and stuff like that because you travel so much, and then, well, there's free alcohol everywhere and it's such a common thing. But it can get very insidious, and that actually happened to me as well, to a point where I actually developed some kind of a bit of anxiety about flying, So when turbulence was happening, I was feeling stressed, like this feeling where everything kind of like pulls together. And then I was observing myself over quite a long period. I actually did get into this trap sometimes when you are then at the airport and then, okay, I can go to the lounge. Okay, I'll have a glass of wine or two, and then I will be less
Mm.
stressed. But what I didn't know was that, and what people know now is that this alcohol, it's like with cigarettes, it actually stresses you out more. If you keep having alcohol, you raise your anxiety level. It's like with nicotine, apparently. Smokers think that they feel more relaxed when they smoke, but they're actually just getting themselves down to the regular anxiety level of non smokers. So, yeah, I went through that. And then I was on a long haul flight where I was really not feeling having a great time, and I was flying over to the US and I had some alcohol, and then I thought, okay, this isn't working. I have to stop this now. This makes no sense to you. You cannot be this slave to the substance, and it's not even working. It was not even working anymore, so to speak. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to stop this altogether, and that was great. But then over time, I started some other practices as well, like meditation, for example, which I can highly recommend. It's a daily practice of mine. 30 minutes
Mm.
in the mornings. But yeah, there's other things as well.
Yeah. So you decided that, okay, this is not for me anymore. This sounds like a very natural change. But do you also sometimes have like some change that is like you don't really want to do it, but you know that you have to. You need to do it to become like a better human, to reach the next level. And initially, you might have to push yourself through it. Do you sometimes face this as well?
Yeah, absolutely. This was maybe the best example. Quite the recent example is with my book, but it's connected, which it's called Work Like a Warrior. And I wrote it back in 2023. But halfway into the year, as I was writing it, I was really reflecting and thinking, okay, so where am I going? Because I felt like I've been writing as a more or less like a hobby type thing. And then I felt, okay, so where am I going with this? Do I have something here? And then I felt like, okay, I think I actually really have something here that I want to share from all this, many years of experience that I've had in business. And I've seen so many companies from the inside and seen so many things that are really frustrating and inefficient and annoying and, having to do with, I would say, just ego problems. So I was writing this. And then I thought, sort of like halfway, almost like in May, June of that year, thinking, okay, so what am I going to do now? And I was like talking to myself, either I take this seriously now and I finish it, or it's just gonna end up somewhere and I never finish it, and never do it at all. And then I thought, okay, so what is it that I'm actually describing in my book? This is where I came up with the archetype of the warrior, because I'm actually describing that if you want to really be uh, at least satisfied, have a degree of satisfaction in your life and make your life meaningful, you have to choose a purpose, or it can be several purposes that you want to take responsibility for. These purposes have to be bigger than your own existence. That's what the warrior does, right? They're willing to lay down their life for that purpose. And that's the key third thing is, what are the sacrifices that you have to make or that you are willing to make? As I described in the book, I'm not trying to compare combat to business, but generally saying, if you look at these situations from that angle and you learn to integrate your ego or overcome your ego, and you can also recognize it in others and then work around it, you will have much, much better outcomes. And then coming back to your question, as I was sitting there thinking, well, so what are the sacrifices that I need to make if I really want to finish this book? And then I thought, well, it's actually pretty clear to me. I have to go out less. I love to be among people. I love to go out into the night and have fun and, meet people and whatever, go to the movies. I love music. So, Berlin has a big club scene. So this is the thing, and some other things. And then this is like an example of that, where I said, okay, if I want to take this seriously, I need to finish it. Well, I have to do the exact opposite of what my instinct would be, which would be just, okay, it's Friday evening. Okay, let's go out. No, go to bed early. You have to go to the gym the next morning, and then you go to the library and you just write and you try and finish this thing.
In a
Yeah.
way, you became a warrior as well while you were writing about how to be a warrior.
Yeah, this is the funny thing when you're writing a book. There's someone only told me this afterwards. It's always like, okay, what does the book actually do to the author? Yeah, this
Oh,
is like a
yeah.
fascinating, because I was writing it that, well, how can I write about it if I don't follow my own advice, right? Of
Yeah, I
course,
just finished the manuscript as well, and I would say that these 2 months while I was writing it, this really changed me as well because I wrote a book for human design perspective, like for manifestors like
yeah.
me. And as I was going very deep into the topic, I was also doing the things that I was writing about. I was getting examples from my own life and I was changing and becoming more open. And I kind of found a new purpose for my life. I'm like, ooh, this is so good. It's not
definitely.
just a book, it's also what happens to you as the author. So
Yes.
you became more like a warrior.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I tried to, because definitely thought like, okay, how can I fulfill that purpose? You know, that I actually want to share this, and I want to encourage people to, that I think that they can actually find more meaning in their work lives if they consider some of these elements that I described. You know, that this is like what I try to do. I want to encourage people, make them better leaders, and also make companies working more efficiently, which benefits everybody. If you have better working companies, you will have more profits, then you will have more taxes, you will have better outcomes for our states as well and our Western democracy. So you can build up, you know, from the little elements to really like a big effect in terms of the ripple. And yes, of course, I'm just one person. Yeah, this is an isolated effect, but still,
Mm.
this is what we can do, and this is what we need to do. And then, but it's really the sacrifice element. This is really the key here, and this is a lot. This is probably the most difficult thing for a lot of people. And sacrifice, I think we can, in terms of shifting, has a lot to do also with your ego. You have to be able to sacrifice your own image of yourself. You have to be able to sacrifice this anxiety. What do people think of that? And I went through all of this when I wrote my book. You know, nobody cares. This has all been done before. No one will read it. Maybe it sucks. Who knows? You know, maybe I'm a bad writer. Whatever. All these thoughts, everything. It definitely it will come up, and the question is just, can you build your discipline and keep disciplined to that goal so that you can actually do that? Another example in terms of sacrifice, I stopped dating at that time. I was married once, you know, then I had a relationship, you know, all good. And then that relationship ended. And then it was kind of, maybe it was even like this opportunity as well. This is like the funny thing. And I think this is also something how to view some of these situations as well. Yeah, you will be sad. The relationship ends and you will be sad. But then there's trying to see, finding the good things or the opportunities that open up again. And I was writing it. And then like 6 months into it, almost at the same time, I thought like, okay, I'm going to stop this now with the dating stuff. You know, this is too distracting.
Mm.
I have to focus on this now. And I've never done this before in my life. And one of these elements, what are you willing to sacrifice to follow your goals?
Yeah. And it also sounds that these sacrifices that you made, they also brought a reward. And also, when in ancient times people were making sacrifices, sacrificing to the gods, they were also doing it because they wanted to have reward. They wanted the gods to do something good for them. They wanted something nice coming out of it. So all the time, sacrifice has been connected to actually achieving and receiving something in the end. Maybe
Yeah,
nowadays people are more like, I don't know, softcore. So they are
yeah,
more afraid of sacrifice
yes, yeah.
because they have forgotten that, okay, there's also reward
Absolutely.
at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the future is always uncertain. The future is always
Mm.
uncertain. That's why you need to think about first also not getting too comfortable with everything that you have, everything around you. I mean, this is really the rediscovery, I would say, of the Stoic attitude. It's extremely essential. And it's kind of like the last 10, 20 years, it's been more or less, I would say, in what I've noticed also in business and, you know, culture, it's kind of lost. You know, we've really discovered, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, it's just a balance. We've really discovered about a lot of emotion and being angry and taking it seriously and being empathetic and these kind of things. There's good things in there as well. But with everything, you can overdo it, and then you make yourself weak if you think that you can just lean into all that stuff all the time. You know, if you're suffering, if you're sad and angry, you know, I mean, go for it. Yeah, you need to somehow deal with it. But the question is then what comes after that emotion? Because the emotion isn't an action itself. The only
Yeah,
only action is an action.
suffering is like the catalyst. So catalyst for
Yeah,
change.
yeah,
And then you want to start finding ways how to get out of this.
yeah.
So basically change can start with suffering because you're like in this suffering. Maybe you even cause this suffering for yourself, very often we
True.
do. And then you start finding solutions. And through finding solutions, working through the suffering, you get to this new version of yourself that has grown
Absolutely.
mentally, physically,
Yeah.
emotionally, in many, many ways, spiritually.
Yeah, and the suffering can have a huge variety of sources. Could be that you're not happy with the way you feel about your body. You know, maybe you feel that I don't know, you're too fat or something, and there's good reason to feel that way. You know, because there's a natural way that you think, well, it's probably not. I mean, it's, of course, there's so many reasons about it, yeah, and of course there's diseases as well, and some people have it's not absolutely not their fault, but you know, there's also people well, if we're honest with ourselves, if we eat junk and if we eat too much and we don't exercise, we do know that the consequence is so. Anyway, so the suffering can come from that. So you want to make a change. The suffering can also come, well, in my case, or in some other cases, I would say, is the question, okay, what am I actually doing with the time that I have in my life, right? Am I putting it to the best use? And I think this is something that unites all humans instinctively. And I would say, what's the evidence? Well, everything is around us. The difference between what humanity has achieved in terms of civilization, yes, there's all these bad things about it as well, of course. But the difference is so unbelievably big between humans and any other species, any other life form on the planet. Not a value judgment, but just in terms of the observation, it's just incredible. And there must be something at the core somehow developed in evolution amongst us humans where we thought, okay, but what if we make this little bit better? What if I made this little place that we have here, this little hut, a little better? Maybe I can make it a little more stable. Maybe I make the roof a bit more waterproof. Maybe we can make the food a bit nicer tasting. Yeah, there's this incredible human drive. It's absolutely incredible. And I think we should rather celebrate that and then lean into it. And then instead of saying, so, oh yeah, just be comfortable, sit down, play video games, and eat frozen pizza or something, I think it's not fulfilling. It's not a fulfilling life.
Yeah, it sounds like our minds are in fact built to look for better ways, look for better opportunities, build a better version of the house of our life. We need some kind of challenges, but
Yeah,
not like too big, but big
yeah,
enough. And it's
yeah,
like this very not super comfortable, but also not super uncomfortable either. But this perfect balance where you feel like, okay, I have the ability to start doing stuff. I have the ability to jump into this. And actually, very often people don't start the change
yeah,
because they have some limiting beliefs and stories that keep holding them back. So
yeah,
that's another thing that I want to talk about, the limiting beliefs and stories.
yeah,
How
yeah,
do you work through this? Do you have like some method that you also maybe described in the book? How do you go
yeah,
through the blocks, whatever,
yeah,
limiting
yeah,
beliefs,
yeah,
stories
yeah.
on the way?
Absolutely. I can only recommend. It's really nothing new, but I'm just going to share it anyway because it works just incredibly. So I had the incredible fortune then, as I released my book, self-published last year, and then I distributed it in my network because this was all I had. Yeah, and I didn't want to wait, and get some kind of contract with the publisher or something. I felt like I need to get this out now, so I'm just going to do it myself. And then I had the privilege to present this book actually at this big conference called Mind Valley University. I'd already experienced that if you want to reduce these self-limiting thoughts, they're almost all this kind of like, it's very connected to anxiety, or it's very connected to your ego as well, because you are really afraid that you might get ridiculed or that people will not like it. And especially when it's something that's really close to your heart, then you become especially vulnerable, right? You're sharing something and then you have to be prepared for people to completely disagree or not be interested as well, or and ignore it completely. So anything like that can be potentially painful. How do you work through that? So it's, for me, the meditation part, but then also, and I can really recommend this, if there's something that it's really stressful for you, to share it. Yeah, if you want to start your podcast or go on YouTube, or you need to make a presentation, even in your work life, exercise. Exercise will bring down your anxiety level. And I got this inspiration indirectly from a podcast from Joe Rogan, who was saying that he kept this fitness regime in the mornings, like cardio, from the time when he was a martial arts guy. And then at some point, he just kept it. At some point, as he was starting to do stand-up comedy, which is, I mean, holy crap, yeah, who does that? This is really something very, very, very stressful to a lot of people. You have to stand up there in front of hundreds of people, and you have to make them laugh. And then if you fail, they're going to hate it. Yeah, so. And he said this, when he gets through this exercise, he gets to this level of groundedness where he doesn't care. It's like, it doesn't matter. This is the one key that really works the best for me. And I did this in the morning before I did my talk about the book as well. I was still nervous. Yeah, I was still nervous. And I remember someone telling me, yeah, we could tell in the beginning you were a bit nervous, but then it went away as you went into the call. But without it, it would have been a catastrophe, probably. No, it's
Oh,
fine still.
yeah.
But it's, yeah. But if you're really struggling with that and you're thinking like, I really want to do this, but I'm just so scared. Yeah, try exercise. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree with this because I'm very connected to my own body as an athlete, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
What do you do
when
as an athlete? What do you do anyway?
I used to be a long distance runner for more than 10 years, so I was
Ah,
doing
wow.
marathons. And
Wow.
So I haven't competed for 2 years and I won't compete this year either, but I'm still lifting heavy and I'm training hard.
Wow.
So I'm doing hardcore training. And maybe for some people it might be hardcore. For me, it's, my normal already.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
weights keep getting heavier and heavier because
Yeah.
I just keep doing it. And I also have a very good coach who's guiding me on this spot
Mm.
path. Today I also joined a new dance class and signed up for a dance school actually in Barcelona
Nice.
because I felt that okay, I need something more. I need to
Hmm.
get more out of my head and get into the body because especially when I dance, I get very connected and I forget about everything. I forget about all the stress. I forget all about my overthinking and something
Yeah.
releases.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
dance is the best self-expression. It was hard. It was like contemporary. So basically rolling on the floor, kind of odd movements, but I felt
Hmm.
okay, this is
Hmm.
exactly the thing that I want. So I did
Yeah.
like a trial class and then I signed up for the next month. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's do this. And also, I love to be a beginner. So it was the first class today. I wasn't kind of doing everything correct,
Hmm.
but I'm like, okay, it's okay because I am a beginner. I haven't done that kind of class for many years. I have tried before, but it's a new teacher. We're doing it in Spanish. I don't understand everything. Also, learning the teacher's movement patterns, which is always like, everybody moves differently, everybody has their own style.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I love being a beginner in this because I'm like, okay, it's so fun to fail
Yeah.
because I'm kind of like allowed to fail. Although I also feel that we should allow ourselves to fail even when we are no longer beginners
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
because
Of course.
maybe we are beginners in the next level.
Yeah. In this
So,
spirit, you're also embodying the warrior spirit because you have that goal, you set that purpose, and then you're following it and you're willing to sacrifice any kind of feeling of shame or something, in this area as well. So this it goes back to the same dynamic. So yeah, it's great. And you're showing also leadership because you're making it maybe easier for people
mm,
who also feel that shame and they say, hey, I'm not great at this either. I'm also new. I'm just starting. So, but it's always about starting.
yeah.
So yeah, I love it. It's
Yeah.
great. It's really good.
And
And
I was also inspired to share multiple stories about this on Instagram. So I told other people.
yeah,
And I even
yeah,
might make it into something more permanent
yeah.
and make it into a post as well. It's like, okay, I love being a beginner because also I'm not working in corporate anymore, but anytime I started like a new position, I was like, the first month is like kind of learning everything. You can ask everything and anything, and it's okay if you
Hmm.
don't understand because
Hmm.
like you're still learning.
Yeah, this is great. And go back to what you described about like being on the edge and failing. There's something that becomes clear in this conversation just now for me is this. It's really a fascinating relationship because if you're at the edge where you're like getting into this flow state, that means that that the level of novelty of whatever you're doing and your level of skill is actually just aligned so that you can actually keep up with it and you're not like failing completely. So when we, so to speak, fail, then maybe at that point in time it's been little bit too much, which is still not a problem at all because we still learn. So we keep going. It's just a matter of, I think, maybe even it depends. I think when we talk about like work life, yeah, or people working in organizations, people get much more anxious about it, maybe very, very stressed about it.
Mm.
And probably the reason is also, it's actually a fair reason because sometimes, in business, the responsibility is higher as well. If it's about
Yeah.
money, and then people want to know, okay, but they want the good leaders or the managers, want to maybe put you on a task where they say, okay, I think you could do it. I think you're going to be on the edge. Yeah, it's going to be pretty
Mm.
exciting, but you're not going to fail. I don't want to, make it so that you think like, okay, I'm never going to do this again, or that you're actually causing so much problems for the company that it's actually not worth you
Mm.
doing this thing. But there's really a gradient here, yeah, because you can also say, okay, well, it also depends on how active someone can work with you, right? If you have a very, very close part, where it's very critical, and then you let go and then have the person, moving out of that zone and getting into that edge themselves. So there's a really fascinating dynamic here. I think it's something that people can always reflect on whatever they're doing. Am I getting, beyond that? Is it getting too much? Should I, take a step back or get some assistance as well? Ask for advice, ask for help, ask for an opinion. That's always an option as well. That's always something there. We are also connected to this feeling of shame, asking for help. I mean,
Ugh.
everybody has it. Yeah, a lot of people have really a huge problem with that. And I'm same here. I've been having to do that as well. And even in this example as well, I go to the gym. Yeah, I feel so much less stressed of reaching out to people. I usually don't have a problem with that at all. I have lots of friends, and I'm an outgoing person. But when it comes to like business, professional stuff like that, sometimes I feel more anxious about it. And then again, this kind of thing grounds me to face the situation that you can do it, and then you just have to be prepared that you will get no answer, or you will get a negative answer, or what is negative, or something that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Or you get a positive, or you get some kind of connection, something else. Yeah. But the act of going further is always better than not
but if you never try, you will fail anyway.
Exactly.
Not trying is actually the biggest fail. Even like I'm not dating anymore because I'm just so tired of this. But at some point, I was also like going, okay, if I try, at least I gave this 50-50 chance, or like with anything. If you try, there's a chance that you fail or you succeed. If you don't try, it's 100% fail.
Yeah, absolutely right. Totally right. Yeah. And then the question is, how much do you want that thing, right? How important is it to you? If it's very important to you, well, then it's probably better to get out there and keep failing until, because otherwise you will probably end up regretting not even having tried. Yeah. And then you can go down that other path, which leads you basically to your personal hell, where you're just full of regrets and bitterness and self-hatred because you're just blaming yourself, probably rightly as well. I mean, rightly so. But that's not a situation anybody would want to be in.
Yeah, like they also say, to get this one yes, maybe you first have to collect 100 no's. So just go and collect the no's. So you can make it into a game. Yeah. You're not failing, you're just collecting the no's. Yeah. And the 101st answer is going to be a yes. Yeah. And no, it can also be next one, N and O, next one.
Yeah, and it's
next one,
and that's exactly, and it's tough, but there's no other way. You can either, and sometimes also you can use it as information as well, right? Just the fact that you get 100 no's, that's information already. Yeah, maybe what you're offering isn't good enough. Who knows? Yeah, that could be. Yeah,
maybe it's not aligned with yourself.
It's not aligned. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So maybe
it might be something that's good for somebody else, but you are not embodying it, you're not attending, and people are like, I don't buy this. Yeah. If it's like you as a person, you as a service provider, they're like, something is off.
Exactly.
So one of the ways how to get going and get rid of the blocks is like, okay, you just decide I'm going to fail, and it's okay. For example.
Yeah, exactly.
And just experimenting, having like a playful approach, maybe even doing a little bit of gamification, just having fun, because we have this one life, so why not just live the life?
And it always happens. I've noticed this as well, just only recently, that what's also very dangerous around this ego thing is that we picture things that we desire, things that we want to get to. However, first of all, as I mentioned, the much more meaningful path is if you pick something where you feel you're doing something meaningful anyway, and you're not picturing what it is that you potentially might get as a reward in terms of money or fame or whatever, this kind of stuff. So pick something that you're good at and that you're passionate about. And I mean, I'm not the first person to say this, so sorry, but I noticed this as well, that you fall into this ego trap very, very quickly. And I had this, for example, the other day when I started actually I've been experimenting with videos around my work as in consulting and leadership and these kind of things. And then I had a different idea about some commentary, because I was fascinated by reaction videos. So I had this idea, and I'm very, very interested in politics and international relations and this kind of stuff. That's why I have this book here, The Grand Chessboard. Yeah. And I thought, okay, I'm curious about this reaction stuff, and I'm really not a very technically proficient person. So the last months, I mean, I'd go step by step and try this and that, and with the microphone and this stuff, and then on the computer. I don't enjoy that at all. I was with the reaction thing. I found this software. It's called OBS. It's free. Yeah, very easy to use. And then I started, and I did this first reaction video, and then a little bit more, and then I saw, oh crap, I didn't watch the sound properly. Okay, I worked on that. Already the other experience of having gone through that, going through this anxiety and feelings of shame when you record video, was already beyond that. And then something really interesting happened. I shared it, and it was so completely random. It's not even under my name. This is like politics, and this is random. It's like, I don't know, like 20 people have seen it or something. It went on X, Twitter. I usually don't do that much because it's quite toxic in terms of, it depends on where you go, but we know the problem. Then I had this
Mhm.
guy, and then he said, okay, interesting. And then he wrote a message back to me saying, well, it would be nice if you could, this is like an hour, so it would be nice to, and he put it a bit differently, but not that polite. I found it a bit interesting. What about like chapters? Because like this 1 hour, I don't even know. I appreciate short form conversation, something. So it's kind of almost like what I've noticed on X, the communication isn't that nice. This affected me at first, yeah, because it was like, saying, well, I appreciate your shorter form communication, like your time efficient communication. And then it's more respectful to the viewer if you have chapters in the descriptions and stuff like that. I was like, holy crap. I mean, that's like, you can take this as an insult, right? It's like strangers. And I thought, okay, at first, and then you have these several voices coming up in your head. Like one is like, who is this idiot? Yeah, what is this? Yeah, this is insulting. Yeah, that's no way to talk to someone. Yeah, but then I just let it go. And then the next day, I thought like, well, what is it that I can learn from that? It's actually, well, he has a point. I mean, the actual point, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense to have these things, these timestamps. If it's a 1 hour video, it absolutely makes sense. And then you can click on it and then whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. The communication around
Mhm.
it, well, how can you get over it and just say, okay, it doesn't have to affect my ego. This person doesn't even know me. I don't even know that person. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying this to say how good I am, because I had the same thoughts as everybody else would have. I was like, what the, it's like, what the, that's an idiot, whatever. So, but we can do both. But the point is, we can still choose to act differently. And I actually,
Mhm.
went back and I wrote a reply to the message saying, hey, thanks for the tip. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
because I wanted to,
you get to choose your reaction. And also,
exactly.
what's coming through from what you said is like about falling in love with the process, not just the result. Not You're not doing it just because you want to put this specific video out. You also want to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
I can give actually like an example from my own life. So as a bodybuilder, I'm not doing it just to be 1 minute on stage with this shiny bikini and spray tan and super cool makeup. I'm not doing this for this 1 minute. It's like just go and then it's over. I'm also doing it because I just love the process. I love to see how my body changes during these months when I'm
Right.
like building and bulking and then cutting. I love being in this gym vibe. Yes, I hated the posing classes. The posing lessons, this is super hard. You have these heels as a woman, and it has to look like very smooth and fun. But actually, when you're kind of still learning to pose, it's super painful because
Mm-hmm.
the lower back also gets like a lot of and also the feet will start hurting a lot. So, but even now, I can say, yeah, I hated it and I also loved it because it's part of the process.
Cool.
It's part of
Yeah.
building myself.
Yeah.
And it's not just for the 1 minute on the stage. Actually, the reason why I switched from running to bodybuilding was that I was getting kind of like bored. And I also wanted to do something more challenging just to
Mm-hmm.
see
Mm-hmm.
how I grew during this process. Because, runners, very often, what do? They're like, oh, I can eat all the candies in the world because I'm going to run them off. I'm going to burn them off anyway. But in bodybuilding, nutrition is so much more precise.
Mm-hmm.
You're weighing everything, you're calculating, you're more serious about it. And as a nutritionist, I was also like, I want to do something more serious. I want to be around people who are more serious about their nutrition. So that's why I did it. And I also grew so much as a person. Of course, it hurt. I was into emotional eating. After this, my body gained 15 kilos, which is like it messed up my
Wow.
hormones a bit, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't undo it
Yeah.
because I also grew so much as a person. And it's like what's easy for me might be the most difficult thing for some other people who have never done anything like this.
Yeah. Again, great example for this idea of the discipline. You have a goal, you focus yourself towards it, and then you bear that suffering that comes through that hard work, because it is hard work, not just the discipline. I mean, not just the not eating stuff. It's like you're actually not doing an action, but even of course that's tough as well, because it's so easy to whatever, go to the supermarket and buy all that crap. So yeah, but again, yeah, great example.
We talked a lot about mindset and putting your mind to it, but okay, how do we get from the mindset critical part to the actual actions? Do you have any tips for this? How do you or people you communicate with get to the action part? Or maybe you also wrote about it in your book, because it's nice to have a plan. Okay, like I always say, plans are nice, words are nice, action is nicer.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a really good question. Coming back to also what I write in the book is the outset has to be right. So, and my book starts with I have 5 chapters, and the first chapter is called groundedness. And this, I
Mm.
think, cannot be underestimated. I mentioned, first of all, there's different disciplines and hygienes to get yourself grounded and less stressed. Also, there's another element to this. I think only when you are grounded, you can actually have enough patience to see that long term, have that long term view. And sometimes even I notice it. This is another thing that I do. Someone recommended it to me during COVID when I was also dealing with stress, and he said, try having a cold shower. And by the way,
Mm.
just a public safety advice here. Apparently, it works for men. It works usually all the time. For women, it doesn't work that well, or it can for some it does, but for a lot of women, it does the exact opposite. So please, be aware because apparently the physiology is
Yeah,
different.
there was also like I think it was Stephen Bartlett who also talked about it in
Yeah,
his recent podcast. There was like a doctor saying that women are so different from men, but of course, if
exactly.
it works for you,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
for
yeah.
it.
So exactly. So because there's different physiologies and whatever. That doesn't. Anyway, what happens when I do this here? And this is like a little hack, especially for men as well. To bring down your stress level as well, because your body releases adrenaline, and that makes you calmer and collected. But also, what I notice is that it opens up your consciousness to the bigger picture, like long term. When we're not grounded, the little things, like the daily things, the daily elements that happen right now can stress us out. It's like, oh, I want to
Mm.
cook this food. Oh, this is missing. I'm getting annoyed. But when you're grounded, this goes away. This completely goes away. Then you just think more constructively. What's actually happening, and is this actually worth getting emotional about it, or getting annoyed about it, or having some kind of frustration or anxiety? And with the anxiety level, it's the same thing. And this is the first step again to the groundedness. And you asked me about the action. So only
Mhm.
I noticed. Then I have another example as well. Before you can figure out this action, I think you need to get yourself in that space. I can make a recommendation because the action can be, I mean, there are infinite amounts of different actions people can take. And I think I would say, and I'm not trying to get an easy out here, yeah, but I would recommend you do these things and to get grounded. And then what you can do then is on top of it, you sit down and you meditate, which means really literally just closing your eyes, no distractions, phone off, or you go somewhere
Mm.
else and you just think and you write and you can collect ideas and then you can follow and you will find the answer, because you're always in that space right there. Once you're grounded and you have the connection to that goal and to that target, you can define the
Mm.
little steps you can do. And a final piece of advice, what I also noticed just before, it's actually another, maybe not to like shift or anything, but what became clear to me in my place here, I was quite happy with my place, but I also had some things which weren't really that nice or that beautiful, or like depended on the
Mm.
room. Yeah, but something was a bit like intermediate. I have this like room which was like here, it's like the studio guest room type thing or whatever. I realized by taking so many other distractions out and really like, okay, Christmas time, wonderful. Okay, phone off, no distractions, getting settled down for a few days. And then I realized, okay, I need to take this really seriously about the space that I'm in. If I want to then even be grounded and have that experience, I literally wrote down on this whiteboard, okay, I can only have an impact if the place that I'm in is beautiful, is orderly, and it's clean. And
Mm.
again, nothing new. It's nothing new under the stars, right? Maybe it takes 20 years or whatever, for us to realize this kind of thing, or maybe we can share it to with younger people or kids or whatever. But even I think it's never too late. How whatever age you're in or a situation you're in, these little things you can do immediately, and then you could figure out maybe some of the other actions. Yeah, and if you don't know what action to take, like how to get yourself, even if you have this goal, but then you're so frustrated in the here and then, this would be a great action. Get your place in order and make it
Mhm.
nicer, make it a bit more pretty, make it a bit cleaner. And then you feel better about yourself and about the space, and then maybe then the other action that takes you out of the world, you will.
Yeah, if you already have like more order around you, I've also done the Marie Kondo method, the KonMari
Oh yeah,
method. So if
great.
you have already like more order around, you have less distractions. So you
Yes.
have less things to maintain, you have less things to clean, you have less things to think about, and this is also opening up a lot of mental space inside you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I feel that this KonMari method, I have thrown so much stuff away, and it's like, it's not
Rating, right?
just
Yeah.
things, it's also releasing some limits and beliefs, and I'm also releasing sometimes like old memories.
Yeah.
I keep a lot of paper because I write stories. I've always been a writer,
Hmm.
and Okay, these things I keep. I even have like big box in a storage in Estonia, which is basically my creative legacy. That's how I call it.
Hmm.
It's like notebooks from different years and kind of even printed out stories that I wrote when I was like 15. So all these creative stuff I keep, but everything else, papers, they can just go. But other than that, just getting rid of the thing, it's like just all these
Yeah, yeah,
layers.
yeah.
And you don't need to carry this hard, heavy luggage with you all the time.
We are
It gets
again,
to be
yeah,
easier.
sacrifice again, right? You're sacrificing this stuff. It's again same
Mm.
thing.
And it's already like at the moment when I'm sacrificing it, throwing it away, at this moment already, I'm feeling better. I'm
Yes,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's
it's
another thing,
leaving me.
and there's another thing about what you mentioned about the distractions. There's also a deeper thing, which is not just that there's things that are on your mind. Why are they why are they on your mind? Because they need to get done anyway, right? Because it's not ordered, it's not beautiful, it's not clean. But there's another thing. If you don't do it, you make the problem worse, because then you will have this voice, and it's right in your mind, coming up, basically blaming you and having like this self-loathing, because they
Mm.
said, oh, you're too lazy to do it. And the voice is right. Yeah, you're too lazy, you're too distracted,
Mm.
you're even too distracted to first clean up this room, or make it nice in your space. You're almost like you're failing yourself. Yeah, you're failing yourself to give that gift to yourself, to making a nice space. This is where we have to start, and realize this kind of dynamic, what that does to us. And because it's so subtle, it's very, very difficult to see. If we put our mind to it, to like this, we feel so much better, and it's so much more worth it. Yeah. And for
Yeah.
example, there's a hack to that as well. For example, if I feel like I'm yeah, I love doing things. I don't like to stand still. Or for example, when I go on vacation, I'm not the person. And again, no judgment. I cannot just lie on the beach for a week or something. Yeah, I want to be active. I want to do things.
Mm.
Anyway, here when I do stuff at home, yeah, and I do laundry or the dishes or the kitchen, or I clean or whatever. I mean, now we have such great technology. You can listen to a podcast while you're doing it. Just
Mhm.
get off your butt and do it. Yeah, and then you can even learn something, or at least get entertainment while you're doing it. Yeah, this is incredible.
Yeah, you sacrifice yourself into
Or
doing
like
something
this
that you
one,
don't really
you
like.
can
Yeah, of course. And then you also get the reward at the same time when you're listening to something that you like. So
exactly.
it's sacrifice reward
Yeah,
very
yeah. It's so
fast.
much. It's great. Yeah, that's probably the easiest
Yeah.
hack to get started anyway.
Yeah. So basically, grounding and cleaning up your environment, these are the good ways how to get from
Yes,
thinking
yes.
to actions.
Yeah. Oh,
Are there any other
yes.
things?
There's another one.
Yeah.
I remember another one, and this is from my coach, Sherry Stringer, who connected us as well. By the way, FYI for people who are listening. Incredible person, incredible human being. She opened my consciousness to the importance of going into nature. This was
Mm.
again also a sacrifice, because she said, "Well, you need to go into nature. I will spare you the specifics, but it was really something where it's not just like, okay, yeah, do like 20 minutes. It's actually longer. Yeah, so, but better speak to her about it if you're interested." Anyway, and then I thought, okay, again, wow. I mean, first of all, this is also sacrifice. Where do you cut out that time? Because you want to do all these great
Mm.
things. Where do you cut out the time? And how can you almost like hack yourself to understand that if you're then going through it? Because I knew, well, I wanted to change. Yeah. So you want to do the change. And
Mhm.
then you have someone like that explaining to you how you can help yourself, like, enable yourself to do it. And this is also something which absolutely blew my mind. I think can be also a combination, because if you really shut yourself off of it, that's of course important, phone off, and then go into nature, and then the combination of the nature and probably also the movement itself, it's extremely grounding. And I had some, let's say, to reach out to people who were, I used to think, or before that, I would think like, oh, I'm not good enough to talk to this person at all, But through this, she encouraged me to go there and to do this. And this grounds me so much that all that anxiety, all that kind of ego stuff leaves you, and you just like record a video and then you send it to them. And maybe nothing will happen, but it already does something to you. You've already done something, right? And this is really like the growth
Mhm.
path. You've performed an action through being grounded through this nature.
Yeah, I'm somebody who has like a passive brain. It's also in my human design. So for me, just going out, spending time with myself, just walking, this is when my brain actually does the work. When I'm
Mm,
not actively trying to force, I can't do like active brainstorming. Okay, yes, I can force myself into doing it, but I get so much more better ideas when I just don't focus on them, and then I'm just like walking, and it feels like these very random bits and pieces in my head, different pieces of puzzle, they just click together.
yeah.
The right pieces find each other.
Yes.
This happens when I'm not focusing. So some people have the active brain, so it's also about looking at their human design chart, or or just knowing how you work better. I'm not really this person who wants to sit with a group and okay, now let's sit down and let's talk about the problem and find a solution. I'm like, can I just go away and not think about it? And I promise I will come back with a solution. I will come back with so amazing ideas. But for now, just let me go away.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is how it works.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, then that works for you. Then makes total sense.
Yeah, it's like you can either have like active brain or passive brain.
Yeah.
And I'm
Ah.
more on this passive side.
Yeah.
So this is how things click for me.
Yeah.
Of course, I can force something out when I'm like forced to sit and do stuff, but mostly something just clicks very randomly when I'm not expecting, and I'm ooh. And even today, when I was walking to the gym, I had to record a voice note for myself because I had some amazing content ideas. I
Yeah.
was like, okay,
Yeah.
oh my god, I'm gonna forget,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not gonna come back to this because I also know that having like this open head, I'm very open-minded and flexible, but it also means that ideas are like coming and going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So knowing myself, I think also knowing yourself, this also helps quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing how
Totally.
you work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely agree. And there's also an interesting element here because the human design, I mean, this is really, really fascinating. It's so cool that we got connected and started talking about it again because it's such a good reminder for me as well to be more conscious about these elements. And then secondly, also, again, going back to groundedness is this fact that when you're grounded, you get less stressed about these things because you get more relaxed about, you have a better consciousness to say, I do not need to find the answer or the solution right now and right here now. This is a process and it's okay. And if you are in a, especially most, what connects us all, work, of course, if you get stressed, very stressed about these kind of things, well, try to get some groundedness and then really figure out more consciously, okay, what are all these things in my job right now? Are they really that urgent? Are they really that important? Can I sort them out? And through that exercise already make myself a bit more grounded as well and less stressed as well. Yes, when come back to action and helping people getting ready for a shift or working towards the shift, it's really about the more order you can create around you in the situation that you are, the more you are, so to speak, ready for more chaos that could lead to when you are going over that edge because you are diving into chaos
Yeah.
basically, but in a good sense. I mean, the word chaos in the original, apparently it's not a negative word. We associate it as a negative word, but I think it just means like uncertainty or something, or change, or I think it just means change actually. So
Yeah. So coming back to the book a little bit,
yeah.
what kind of people would benefit most from it? What kind of people should read it?
Yeah. So I think like in terms of benefit, anyone working in any kind of organization would at least benefit it. And I think people who should read it is definitely leaders, managers, the people who want to have like leadership positions or become better leaders and really understand the dynamics and how they can work around it. And I provide a lot of examples from what I've noticed about myself as well, about other people and situations that I've seen in business where you can learn a lot about these, taking these different perspectives. So it's really, I would say, well, what I just said. I mean, anyone who's interested in becoming, better in these organizations, but especially people who want to, grow as a leader in business.
Okay. And do you want to say anything else about the book or yourself? Something as a closing
I
note,
mean,
something that's coming up for you.
yeah, thanks. I mean, the book you can get on Amazon it's available in English and on all the platforms. You can buy it as an ebook or you can buy it as a print on demand. That's available there. And then I've started this YouTube channel, which I call Biz Hacks, and you can find it under my name as well. You can find me on LinkedIn as well if you're in the business space. I do this, but I still really love working in business and consulting and all these good things. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's always possible. And then I would say more with the general content, about these simple advice. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I even on TikTok, which apparently had a few days in the US where it completely got shut off and now turned back on. So there I post every now and again some advice. But I mean, the compact, like the book isn't even that long, but it contains a lot of stuff. Maybe as a final note, just so that the listeners can relate to what's in it. So the different chapters are called groundedness, satisfaction, happiness, success, and role model. And this was for me all the different elements that come together when it's all about work life and also building a legacy, and making sure that how you behave in this work setting is meaningful, it makes sense, you're making the world a little bit better with your work. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, amazing. So let's all work like warriors and not like, whiny versions of
True.
ourselves. Because if you work like warriors, I guess we also have like more time to just enjoy the life.
Yeah.
We just get
Yeah.
everything done so much faster. The to-do list is done like so soon that we can spend time on the bucket list stuff
Exactly.
that we really want to do.
Exactly.
Spend time on the
Yeah.
passion. So for
Yeah.
this, work like a warrior and life will be so much better because what used to be hard for you, it will become so easy,
Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah.
So thank you, Minza, for this conversation, and
Thank
I
you.
will put all your links in the show notes and YouTube description, so if anybody wants to find him, just go for it and read the book.
Yes. Thank you so much.